Hey guys, welcome to the after show. I don't know if Chris actually wants to join us for his own after show on my channel, but I believe Chris is in Perp's group, isn't he, Dave?
Yes.
He is. Yes. Feel free to jump in, Chris. um, but yeah, we were talking in the back channel just before I came live about the discussion that you and I were having in the chat on Chris's thing about existentialism. You know, what actually makes us us, and where we got to that. Yeah, our brains make us, but do our brains cope well if we shove them in a different body? And my personal take is, from personal experience, no, it wouldn't. Hi, Randall.
Hello. How's everybody?
Good.
Hello, Tiffany. We haven't met. You had a wonderful show there with the Daily Atheist.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I was very nervous about it.
Oh, you didn't seem nervous at all.
Now, we've talked several times, Randolph, online, but this is the first time we've been in a stream together.
It is?
It is.
One of your streams, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. One of my streams, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yours, for that matter.
I think we've been in a few streams both as guests, but only a couple times as I recall. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been in so many streams.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a stream whore, I think. So yeah.
So.
I'm sure Dave wouldn't argue with that.
I see Dave's here.
Never.
So yeah, I mean, definitely, I think that if we ever got to the point that we could do brain transplants, I actually think it would turn quite a few people absolutely mad.
Yeah,
but I think by the time you would be looking at those, you'd be looking at the hands or anything about that, and you go, "That's not me." You wouldn't be able to cope with that, not without making some major changes to that brain, so that it could be in that alternative body. Yeah. But my next thing about that is, what if the body wasn't an organic one, but it was an artificial one?
Yeah, so I think that is something that comes up more, or at least it did in my class. If your body is not yours, and like the idea of like an avatar, if it's a body that's not yours, but one you can customize, will you feel more connected to that?
Well, people already customize their bodies.
That's true. But it's expensive. In the future, it's going to be really cheap. Everyone's going to be doing it. That's very like cyberpunk sort of transhumanist.
That's my take on it. I mean, I'm like...
I'm thinking Mecha Streisand in South Park.
Yeah, well, I mean, even for me, I mean, I'm getting close to 50 now, but there's no reason why the time I'm 80, we might not actually be in a position where it's possible to say, hey, I want my brain in a new body. I want my brain in an artificial body. And I'm like, would I cope with that at that point? And I'm like, well, if I'm at the point where I've aged to the point where I'm, because I actually know that there's a lot of older people who get to that point where their body doesn't feel like theirs anymore either.
Right.
The ravages of age have got to a point now where they're not actually perceiving themselves as them. They have a form of body dysmorphia brought on by age. And if you're hitting that point about yourself,
why not jump ship?
Why not jump ship? Yeah, at that point.
There is a Twilight episode about this.
I would be okay with this from an ethical standpoint if the body that's being replaced, the replacement body, was either developed without a brain, such as grown in a lab, or was somebody who willfully giving up their life for somebody else. And I can see capitalism getting in the way of all of that.
Yeah, I don't think people would cope well with being put in another organic body.
Your brain would have to learn.
Major problems with that, and I don't just mean from rejection and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we will probably
just psychologically.
I think the psychologicalness of it would be an issue. But an artificial body that you know is artificial, especially if we're at the point where we can make androids pretty much the way that the person's going to be comfortable with looking. You know, because humans aren't against changing the way our bodies look, but if you change too much, you don't cope with that.
Or too much too fast.
I think if
somebody... Is the question there to allow customization? If you could put everyone into a generic body and then let the brain have a little bit of time with it, and then go, now I can change that how I want it.
Yeah. I think it'd be a case of getting used to having an artificial body and then having the ability to mod it to look the way you want it to look.
I mean, again, also you're talking about a point at which we can reconnect up nerves. I see no reason at that point you wouldn't be able to put the brain in a virtual environment first.
Oh, definitely. And in that point,
like what they do in Ghost in the Shell, I think.
The transitional transplant stage, I guess you could call it, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you may actually have a point where you can actually, from the mapping of what the brain perceives as its body, actually get the ideal body that brain would want to be in.
See, I can see people wanting to go for a body that's better than their own, and initially not having psychological problems with it. What kind of psychological problems do you envision people would have?
There'd be you'd end up with body dysmorphia to a large extent.
Okay.
So you'd feel detached from the body that you're actually in, like it's not really yours, and people go, "Oh no, that's fine. You can cope with that." Bullshit. No, a person you cannot cope with that.
You look at the people that have had the various different stories. I don't know how many are true, but I think a reasonable number of the stories that have had transplanted things they can see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
transplanted hands and things like that, and the transplanted
and it doesn't feel like it's theirs. It's alien hand syndrome and stuff like that.
Yeah.
See, my father is an amputee. He's his right leg. He's still got the kneecap. He's one of the lucky ones. Mm-hmm. The rest of his leg's gone. It was a motorcycling accident when he was younger. But I do have a little bit of perspective on this because he's talked about this. What it's like. He's one of these people who makes a lot of jokes about it. That's how he copes with it, which I think is cool. But yeah, for him, he told me it takes a long time to get used to that missing, and so I guess that's a bit of the dysphoria you're referring to, Jen.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's the same thing from both sides. I mean, as an intersex person and a trans person, I entirely understand what people with pure body dysmorphia go through because being trans is similar. It's not exactly the same. It's different parts of the brain that are involved with the.
It's a change rather than a removal or an addition.
Yeah, it is, but it's not just that. It's actually it's a different part of the brain that is to do with the way that you react to your body is with gender dysphoria as opposed to body dysmorphia. So it is actually slightly different, but it's still a brain mapping issue, and it's still but it's more than that with gender dysphoria.
It's the best analog we've got.
Yeah, it's the best analog we've got. They're very similar in some ways, and they're very different in others. But I can totally understand somebody with body dysmorphia who might have a left arm, and they've got their brain has no mapping of it, so it doesn't feel like it's theirs.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. You get body dysmorphia when you lose a limb when you've had it before, and it's it is a major issue. So,
I mean, I'm about to make a terribly statement that's probably wrong. I wonder if it's worse if you've got something that it doesn't belong than losing something that you had. Does that make sense?
No, I having talked to people who had amputations, the people who have body dysmorphia, and I'm not talking about trans people here, I'm talking about actual body dysmorphic, the feelings of either loss or not being attached to it are pretty much the same, just from the other angle. So it seems to be purely a brain mapping issue, that the image that the brain has of how the body should be does not match how the body is. Now, that exists for trans people as well, but not all trans people, which is weird but that's because
each person's different.
Because the parts of the brain that map differently for a trans person are different to the ones that map for body dysmorphia and the issues that you have when you're an amputee. So even though you have a similar outcome from a physical point of view, it is not the same parts of the brain. So the reality of it is actually a little bit different. But that's
So I'm wondering about
Neither
something
here
like
nor there.
cochlear implant, where you're gaining a sense you haven't had before, and one you haven't necessarily.
Yeah, it gives us a bit of a preview to this, doesn't it? That's a good point.
Yeah, it's well. I mean, there have been. I mean, there's video footage of young kids who've had cochlear implants, and the absolute delight on their face when they first hear
They
something.
seem to be able to perceive something.
Yeah,
Which
So,
means that something, I think something has to be there in the brain to perceive something at that point
yeah.
already.
Would you say it's
Yeah.
better-
So that a part of the brain that's expecting to be able to hear it is there in those people.
Mhm.
So when they put the implant in and they bypass those parts of the ears and feed the signal directly into the brain, they are actually using the part of the brain that will be being used for hearing. So that all of a sudden, a part of the brain is getting something it was expecting.
Yeah, there's an anticipation there. It's being satisfied.
Yeah.
Now somebody's got a body that's got all kinds of injuries and all kinds of pain and arthritis and different things in there, and they're expecting their brain's going to be moved into a new body that's much younger and doesn't have those health problems. There'd be an expectation that things would be better. Would you say that may help them cope with the change?
I think it would. If you're at the point where the condition that your body in is giving you a form of dysmorphia anyway, because the body's not really feeling like what your brain's expecting, then I think
they grew up. No. They grew up. They're older.
No. I know. I totally get you, but I think there is an element of dysmorphia that happens as people age or if they get injured and things like that.
Okay.
So like with somebody who's an amputee, you have a form of dysmorphia because you lose the limb. Even having an artificial limb added can, even if it's one you can take off, that artificial limb, even though it's not part of them, can actually help reduce their dysmorphia.
Yeah.
From losing the limb. So my thoughts here would be that if it's because of age or an accident and you're more damaged, and so there's more things that can cause that dysmorphia in the brain, there might be a point where if you're offered a new body being an artificial one, the dysmorphia you feel inside the new body may actually be less than what you feel in your original.
Right. Lesser of two evils, sort of thing.
The lesser of two evils, yeah. I don't know if you grabbed a healthy person and shoved them in your body, I would absolutely fuck with them.
All right, I'm just trying to
they'd be very unhappy. Yeah,
on a little bit of anorexia, on a little bit of knowledge of anorexia, not me, but reading about it. Given that you can perceive your body is different to how it is,
yeah,
would we not then be able to, at the interface, adjust how you are perceiving your body?
Well, yes, if we are at the point where we can directly interface, where the person's sensory input is directly interfacing, you could technically feed them whatever you wanted at that point, and if you could get an idea of what the original body felt to them, like you could actually feed the right information into them, even if their body was different. I believe something like that is done with my mum in the Battlestar Galactica spin-off, where they went back and when the Doctor, although they never made the second series, so you didn't really follow it through, when the Doctor put the digital copy of his daughter inside the Cylonic body, she perceived herself as herself, even though she was inside a full metallic Cylon body.
I've seen that a few times, actually.
Yeah, and that was
it. Just to get
yeah, Doctor Who did it with what's the name when she got turned into a Cylon? Bill, yeah. But she did it to herself. The Doctor said her personal will was that such that she could ignore what they'd done to her.
Yes.
Whereas in the case of I can't remember what that follow-on show was for Battlestar Galactica. But in the case of that show, the Doctor, her father, had actually designed it such that she would perceive herself as herself because he was worried about the effect on her brain her digitalized brain.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the big twist at the end of things. Like, you were actually a robot the whole time, or an android, or some sort of, like, your real body died, and you haven't been able to perceive it because you were designed to not know.
Yeah.
And then there's fallout, though, from that. And I think that's interesting, because that's, at that point, is it dysmorphia at that point if you thought you were a person and you find out you're something else? Or would we call that something else?
Disbelief at first, I suppose.
I don't know what you'd call that. In the end, it'd be and these things do actually bring up ethical questions as well. I mean, do we have a right to dilute somebody's perceptions so much just to put them in another body? Is that the right way to do it? I mean, surely that is the same thing that they brought up in, say, Doctor Who with when they bring back the Cybermans, and so you turn off their emotions so they can't perceive what's being done to them.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to turn off that perception, or else the psychological torment of that is just way too much. If to do this would be in that sort of have that much of an issue, are we right to do it?
Well, if you have to do that much to change that much, then it's not the same person.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
If you're filtering their perceptions, are they still part of the world?
I don't know. I don't know that I would say that they're not the same person necessarily. But I don't know.
They're a variant of the same person. I don't know whether you could say they're exactly the same person. I mean, we are not the same person from one second to the next.
It's true.
We are constant evolving entities. So if you have that big a change to yourself, the person you are afterwards is not exactly the same person that you were before.
We talked about this like sort of continuation of consciousness.
Yes, I'm going to say we're getting dangerously close to a teleporter problem.
Yeah.
We talked about that a lot in my class, actually. The ethics of that.
So which one is the real you? Both. But you're both divergent yous afterwards.
But the point is, you're talking about a change to the brain, aren't you, though? It's so much that you know in advance, potentially.
So, ethically, do you have the right to make decisions for a clone of yourself or some sort of version of you that's not you? If I put my consciousness in a robot body, like a copy of my consciousness in a robot body, and I'm still here, what do I owe to that version of me in that body, if anything?
Well, a very important consideration in that, I think, would be, is it sentient? Is it independently sentient?
Yes.
You would have to answer what the hell is independent sentience then.
Well, it thinks it's me.
Although it also knows the choices that you made and what led to those choices.
Yes.
So it thinks it made those choices too.
Unless we mess with its perception, and it thinks it's the original one, and I'm the robot.
I think of it as producing an offspring, basically. So what rights does a baby have? We have to make decisions for
we're not going to go down the abortion.
The baby hasn't got life experience, hasn't got memories. Well, the baby hasn't got memories yet, hasn't got life experience yet. When you produce a clone, the clone already has all these memories and life experiences by the way you're describing it. So I think automatically it should have rights. It's kind of the direction.
The question is, what do you owe to it?
Yeah, can I kill it?
Not what society.
I'm not going to.
You're talking about debt.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, can I kill that version of me? Because as far as I know, it's me, or does it get to? Yeah.
No, I think at the point that
I'd have to quit my job so I could keep working.
Lives. Yeah, I think at the point that you're both living separate lives, you become two separate entities.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where I was going with it too. Yeah.
I think that's regardless of your shared memories, you are now two separate individuals
and forming new memories.
Yeah. And forming new memories. So at that point, you've diverged.
I think we would have to have something along the lines of society would have to come up with a way, because you will have to agree who actually has ownership of your past.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany,
how it comes down to property.
Tiffany, what were some of the most interesting conclusions that came from the class that you can remember on this topic?
So, I think most of the time we always default to a sort of how you're born thing. So I'm born Tiffany, and I live my life as Tiffany. If there's some other version of me that ends up existing, whether I will that into existence or not, I think most of the time we like defaulted, and like that might just be before conversation. We defaulted to like, I'm the original, I'm the most Tiffany that there is. And I don't know that, I necessarily believe that, but that is usually like where we came out. So with the teleporter problem, that version of me that went into the teleporter is more me than that version that comes out on the planet. And I don't know that that's fair, but I think that's what people default to.
So how would you feel about an actual teleporter that deconstructs you at one point and constructs an entirely new you at the other?
Feel weird about it.
In theory, it's going to sleep, isn't it?
Well, no. Essentially, you're dying and being brought back to life. It's resurrection.
But is that not what happens when you go to sleep with your consciousness?
Well, again, if it's a continuation of consciousness thing, if all I know is that I was in a teleporter and my consciousness knows I'm on the other side of the teleporter, maybe it's fine. The same way that, like, I know I went to sleep and I'm awake again. As far as I know, it's my same consciousness, so I don't have a problem.
Yeah, in Star Trek, Dr. McCoy wasn't a fan of this.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it would depend on how aware of that situation I am. If I know when I get into the teleporter, I'm going to be broken down and come back, even if that version of me on the other side is going to be fine and not have any sort of psychological damage with it, I don't think I would want to get into the teleporter.
But the problem is you're not brought up with them. I think if you brought kids up with it, I think they would think it was perfectly normal.
Yeah, if you know it's going to result in damage, you're not going to use the technology. Same with a motor vehicle. If you know its brakes aren't working, you're probably not going to want to get in that car and go for a drive.
Yeah.
How reliable is the technology becomes an important question in this.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, if I grew up with it, I wouldn't I wouldn't think anything of it.
Would there ever be any advantage of deconstruction teleporting?
As long as there's reconstruction that's accurate, I think that's a reasonable question.
What I mean is, why is that any better than traveling?
Saving time.
How would it save time? The material that is used still has to be taken.
Okay. Well, if it's going to be the same amount of time required just to travel while we're awake, I think most people would prefer to just not go through all that hassle, because they're going to be thinking that we got to travel anyway physically, so why do it in a state where we're completely out of it? So, unless somebody wants to be asleep while they travel, then it probably still doesn't.
The obvious alternative is what we talk of as teleporter, that where you go in and you are converted into energy or killed off here, and you come out the other side as a new person that's constructed from scratch, but with all your
everything
identically, and then you can travel at the speed of light. And I can see the advantage to it, but equally you are technically being killed to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Okay, I'd want to look at the statistics and know, is it safer than air flight? Is it safer than driving a vehicle? What are my chances?
It becomes a bit of 100% guaranteed death.
Oh, well, then why
just
do it?
Another one of you walks out the other side.
Some version of me gets to go to the planet that I want to go and have a vacation at.
A copy of you gets to go to the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you become that copy, it's still you.
Yeah. As far
this is the argument. This is this.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the argument, though. Is it still you, though?
It's more me than it's not me. It's more me than you are. So
Yeah, see, I take exactly the same position, Tiffany. I'm like, if we know that the person coming out the other end is a good enough, is such a good copy that you're not going to notice any difference. The being coming out the other end is not going to know that it's not you.
Yeah.
As long as I'm making an informed decision on it, and I understand what's going on, and I'm making the decision freely, then for all intents and purposes, it's me. That's the way I see it. I know it sounds a bit black and white.
That's definitely a valid position. It's not uncommon.
What if you didn't disappear and there was just another you on the end? See, this is like my thing. Once you get into if there's more than one of something that thinks it's me.
Now, what was this movie? What was the movie that had Hugh Jackman in it that actually did this? Where he went and saw Tesla, and Tesla had developed a teleportation machine that copied you but didn't destroy the original.
There's two of you out there.
So there's now two of you if you use it.
But he
didn't like the fact there was a second one, so he actually designed the whole thing so the original one always got killed.
But
yeah,
again,
but I mean,
you've got a divergence
experiment before. What do you do? So you're right, divergence. What do you do if your first you survives?
Well, that's yeah. Do I have the right to shoot that? I don't think that I do.
Yeah, the magician. Yeah, prestige. You're right.
So as I have the right to bodily autonomy, I can choose to teleport. I'm not actually dying, but I can agree that the one that disappears left behind must be gone.
So once you have come out the other side,
yeah,
the split second you come out the other side, you are a different person. Now that's a continuation of you. I totally accept that.
Yes.
But if the other person has half an hour, an hour, the machine fails to kill him, and so he's alive for another hour. He is very much a different person at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's very unfortunate because that's not the intention. But now you have two different sets of memory, two different sets of life experience.
Can you still decide to kill him?
No, you're two separate entities now. It's the same problem that we had before. When if you make a clone of yourself, there's, which one's the valid person? Well, both are because, yeah, they are. It's a clone, regardless of how it's made.
You'd have to ask me the one that was left behind.
Yeah. What's the movie? I think it's called The Island.
The one that was left behind would say, "Don't kill me."
Yeah. Where essentially they make clones of you so you can harvest organs from them.
Yeah,
I think I saw that movie. Yeah, that was interesting.
And like
you
the whole thing,
in it.
Yes, that's who it is, and that's the whole the ethics of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you decide to
Except
go?
for their way of doing it is
bad. Not great.
It's very bad.
It's bad. It's capitalistic because only the rich people can do it.
The clones, what was going to happen to them?
It's not like they were doing it and they were putting good into the world, which would be a different thing.
It was all just how much money you have, but that's how it works, unfortunately.
Right.
See,
capitalism is the ruling power right now.
Their original idea was to clone bodies that didn't have brains, but they couldn't make it work. So they actually
the organs weren't working, I think.
Yeah, so they had to clone full bodies, including brains. So they didn't give them the. Did they give them the memory? No, they didn't. Give them the memory.
They thought they were just people that lived on this island.
Yeah, they made them think they were just the last of humanity. They lived on this island, apart from this other place. No, they weren't on an island. That the island was the prize because it was a paradise thing to.
Right.
And if they won the lottery, they got to go to the island. And what that actually meant was they were dragged off and they were put into a
that was the island.
And the rich people who lived outside of this facility paid to have these clones made so they could have harvestable organs that were 100% compatible with them.
Right.
Yes, very completely unethical.
Yeah, everything about that is bad. Is there a version of that isn't bad?
It's reminiscent of slavery.
There's no version of that.
No, you can't do it.
It's reminiscent of slavery, it seems.
I mean, I think that is essentially what's happening.
I honestly don't think we'll ever be able to actually teleport people. I think that's going to actually be an impossibility.
Oh, you pessimist, you.
I don't want to teleport in the sci-fi universe. I want to teleport in a fantasy universe.
Yeah, I mean, a VR world, you can teleport all you like.
Oh, this was the other thing. Do you think we'll have? I do think we might have drones. So I want to go to Mars tomorrow to do some for a meeting. Mm-hmm. So I'll transfer or go into something where I control where my consciousness is transferred into a drone on Mars.
Yeah, I think we will probably nut out fast and light communications. I think we'll figure out there's a way to do it that doesn't violate causality, and it probably is possible. Whether or not we'll actually nut out how to do something equivalent to warp drive, I don't know. We've got some good ideas, but they're only ideas, and they only kind of solve the equations.
I don't think the problem is
they're requiring exotic matter.
I don't think we need warp drive for anything.
It'd be a lot nicer than going close to the speed of light.
I don't think you need to go close to. I think you go slow once you build something big. Once you can build a ship that can hold 10,000 people, that they can live on and have lives on.
I think the question is, do I want to come back or not?
I don't think you would.
Because you build a different thing if you don't plan to come back.
There is the other aspect to that, Dave, that if we get to the stuff we were talking about sooner, if we can build artificial bodies that our brains are comfortable to be shifted in once we get to a certain age, then all of a sudden you're talking about living thousands of years.
Yes.
At that point, we can easily put the brain to sleep for large amounts of the trip, and the bodies aren't going to decay. We can just go wherever we damn well want once you get to a certain age, and you just have the young people having the Earth and the older people bugger off into space.
Inquisitive Quandary raises an interesting point in the chat. Can you put that up on the screen?
And this one. Yep.
On the flip side, it could also be used to maliciously hijack brains. Yeah, I guess people would be able to recreate the brain, make it rematerialize in a certain way that things are a little bit different as well. I'm sure there's going to be capitalists wanting to sell and
here's the problem. Along the way. We can already do that.
Oh, yeah.
Is each other's brain?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, pretty much an awful lot of the indoctrination that comes from religion is literally a hack. It's repetition of something that they're told is true over and over again, and the brain structures adapt around it to accept it.
And we're also starting to learn how the brain encodes stuff within the neurons. So,
do you think we'll be able to?
We're not very good at it yet, but we are getting closer to the point of being able to manipulate neurons and actually seeing what's going on there. At that point, a computer-brain interface becomes possible, and we may actually end up being more or less brains in a vat, rather than
if we're not already.
Yeah, we're not already.
Well, I guess the lazy people would be okay with that. I think the physically active people who enjoy being physical probably.
No, I think I think everyone would love it. You would still think you were physically active.
Yeah,
that's the point.
And you could be physically active in any world you wanted.
I would still not be physically active. I'm not a super physical
come
person.
On. Who doesn't want to go and visit the Middle Earth for a while?
Only to destroy the ring. That's enough for me.
No, there's no internet there, so I'm gonna no, it's not for me.
Oh, I'm sure someone will put internet there.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to be there permanently. You can go and do that for. You go have a holiday in Middle Earth. Go spend a few days.
Yeah, I just go and unplug and pick plants with the hobbits.
Yeah,
I could do that for about 30 minutes, I think.
And when your time's up, you can go for a swim in the hot lava and wake up back in where you're supposed to.
So I like this idea.
Or then you go and spend a fortnight on Babylon 5.
Yeah, I want to go to the more advanced places.
Oh, boy, that ship looks depressing to me.
People are always like, I want to go and see the dinosaurs. I was like, I have no interest in seeing the dinosaurs. Send me a picture of the dinosaurs. I don't need to actually be there with them. So,
once you live in a virtual world, how will you interact knowing that virtually everyone is probably not real? The orange
you
rat.
do it like they do in World of Warcraft. They dress up in all kinds of crazy costumes that put Walmart to shame, and you trade things by dropping.
It is the
You
avatars
also
would do that.
wouldn't know who was real and who wasn't.
No,
So I want to follow up to that. What in that reality? What is real? How do you decide who is real and who's not real?
it's the people that exist on the outside that would, that if it was to be switched off, would still exist.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. I think there is a problem defining what is real.
No.
Because at some point
That's
they're gonna
interesting,
have
though.
like that's the whole thing. They'll gain self-awareness. Are they less real than me because I was like born biologically and they were created in some way? At some point, that's gonna get iffy.
We're certainly going to get to the point of having AIs that, for all intents and purposes, are sentient.
Yeah, I think the point about Doc Fearsom's question, would a mindless clone be ethical? It's a non-starter because if it doesn't have a mind, it's not sentient.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like people
But
growing
we're less
kidneys in the
likely
lab.
to do that. I don't see the scenario of the island happening anyway. Because we're already looking at the possibility of being able to use organic printers, the printers that can print organic structures to actually print replacement organs and things like that. So I don't see why we'd actually clone a brainless body.
I remember reading a science article years ago about successful growing of a kidney in the lab. Yeah.
So actually, to bring it back to like religion,
Plenty of room for a badger.
I do think that would be like the next sort of religious battle of like the religious right saying like it's immoral to have a grown kidney, whether like you grow it in a lab or you grow it from a clone.
But why would it have to be religious?
No, I'm saying like that is what I think would happen if this were to be in real life. I think that you would have a religious backlash against it because there's a religious
backlash, sure.
Yeah, there's a religious backlash to everything that happens. But I think that would be
like the stem cell debate, which turned out to be nonsense as well. Yeah.
There would be something like that where there'd be some sort of slur you created for people that have like created organs or created body parts or some sort of that.
But we're not going to need
order.
How dare we play God to help people?
So that, yeah, there would be some terrorists that come up out of that. It would be a whole thing.
Oh yeah, they get bored of bombing abortion clinics, so now they're going to move on to this. Yeah, I can see that. No, totally. I agree. Actually, I can see that happening.
Yeah, I think that's why so many of like the sort of sci-fi things that are set in that way have to be a sort of in a post-religion society.
It definitely will make it easier. I still think that, and I do think that it's not just the religious people who raise those moral arguments or what they perceive to be moral arguments. It's probably a more accurate way to put it. I think plenty of people will raise the concerns anyway. We've got human rights and other considerations that came in spite of religion, not because of it. And so I think we're much more enlightened as a species today, but still have a long way to go because there's still a lot of this indoctrination stuff going on. Yeah. Jen, you're muted. She knows.
I can't stop coughing.
Yeah.
The stupid flu is really, really messed me up. Yeah, hopefully I'm through the fit. That's okay, because Badger's joining in. He'll want to talk for ages.
You need a modification. Hey, I shared that video with Bad Tempered Badger earlier.
Hello.
The wolf and a badger.
Hey, Badger.
Hang on, my microphone's wrong.
That's from the Colbert.
So now Badger's here. Should we talk about how bad Star Wars is?
I'm not saying Star Wars is bad. I'm just saying I have very little experience with it.
Well,
it might be bad.
In a general sense, I find Star Wars is better for the action and the special effects, and less for the story. Like the storytelling's pretty good, but I mean the dialogue I think is often lacking.
Right.
But when it comes to Star Trek, it's more philosophical and dialogue. So, I like them both.
We're talking about Star Wars. I'm going to have to put this one on.
Now, I'm sure Star Wars has its good qualities.
Oh yeah, no, I like them
Oh,
both.
like the
Yeah.
first three movies.
People.
Oh, you're still hanging around that planet, I see, bad-tempered badger.
It's a nice planet.
How long do you think you'll be stationed there?
Well, there's no point leaving the planet if you don't need to. You know, it's nice here.
Oh, you've got a great-looking ship, anyway. It'd be interesting to get a tour of other parts of it at some point.
Well, I'll have to see if I can organise that.
No rush.
So, hello. I heard someone
Hey,
mention Star
hey.
Wars. And...
Oh.
Ah! Hello.
Yeah,
I heard someone
Wars,
mention
you're
Star
here.
Wars, so I was summoned.
I feel like I'm gonna get kicked out again.
No, you're not kicking out.
Hello, Ring.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, now the phone's ringing.
Oh, I thought that was Ring.
Right, BRB.
So, Tiffany, the author you were talking about before, I had to go and walk the dog. What you were talking about at the beginning of the earlier stream?
Octavia Butler.
Okay, what has she written?
So she's written Kindred, I think, is like her big series, which is like the time travel slavery one. Parable of the Sower is the one I like.
Okay, I haven't heard that. I have heard of Kindred.
Yeah, Parable of the Sower is the one I like. There's a sequel. It's called Parable of the Talents. That is fine. It's not as good. And it's like a really interesting take on a dystopia and like what the idea of religion even is. And that there is a family that is living in like it's not war torn yet, but it's gonna get there eventually.
Yeah.
And her father is a sort of future type preacher, Christianity. And she sort of makes her own religion just off of her own thoughts. And she's just like, this is what I believe. I'm going to write it down. And she becomes convinced that she has to spread this religion. And it's really interesting. It's more interesting than it sounds. But yeah, just the world keeps getting worse. And like her religion is not even what I think we would consider traditionally a religion at all.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of her. As soon as you said her name before, I've definitely heard of her.
Yeah,
And and it's Kindred. I've heard of. I haven't read it. I think I've read the synopsis of Kindred before. And it was a book that I intended on reading, but I'm really selective on what novels I read because I have dyslexia, and
Oh, me too.
So I tend to read novels and then I will do things like read a chapter and then my brain has changed around the words in the chapter that I've just read and I'll get to the end of it and I go, that didn't make any sense, and I'll have to go back and reread, and it's really frustrating. Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. I don't have the same problem when I read scientific papers. My brain knows when I'm reading it that I've put this thing wrong and I can correct it straight away. But because of the type of fiction I like to read, it is really hard to know that you've messed it up until you get to the end of it.
For me, the dyslexia kicks in mostly when I'm fatigued. When I'm not, it's not normally a problem. So
I use reading to get fatigued if I can't sleep.
Yeah, which is great when you're dyslexic and you're falling asleep and you can put the book aside and then you pick it up the next day and you go, oh no, how many chapters am I going to have to go back?
Sorry to your kid at night though, when you fall asleep reading.
Oh, that's
the other problem I have is when I'm reading and I'm really tired, but it's a really good book. I'm reading and I'm dyslexic in the whole thing. And I'm there till like 5 a.m. still reading it, and I'm like,
Yeah, that's when you give up.
You open it up at like 9, think, okay, I'll get like a couple chapters in before I go to sleep. Next thing you know, it's like 3 a.m. and you finish the book.
Yeah, it's morning.
Well, I figure, like, even if I try to go to sleep, I'm going to be thinking about whatever the last thing that happened. It's like, what's going to happen? I'm just going to be up all night thinking about it. So I might as well.
Yeah.
finish the book.
I've pulled all-nighters to get through a book before.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do, but I've done it.
It kind of annoys me when books finish a chapter and each chapter has a cliffhanger at the end of it.
Oh yeah.
Because then I'm just there going, oh,
Now I got to keep going. I have
I
responsibility.
want to go to sleep.
Book.
So I want to go to sleep, but I can't because another cliffhanger. Ah!
But those books sound interesting. I'm gonna have to put them on my list.
Yeah.
My ever-expanding list.
Maybe they should put. Maybe this is a lesson here that the scientific papers should have cliffhangers at the end of every chapter.
So wondering now that you're here, Wondering
Yeah.
does a show every week that's about media, as
Yeah.
in fictional media.
Mm.
We have so far covered. What have you? what have you done so far? I've lost
Yeah.
track.
We started with The Witcher. Then we covered
That's right.
Tolkien. Then we covered Monty Python.
Yes.
Me and Badger did Dr. Dolittle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this
Which
Sunday
I
we're
know nothing
you know.
about.
Monty Python's like a prerequisite.
yeah.
We did Monty Python because of Terry Gilliam dying.
Terry Jones.
Terry Jones, sorry.
I need to find
Terry
something.
Jones.
This Sunday we're doing Lovecraft.
Lovecraft is interesting.
Yeah.
He named his cat in a way that I'm never gonna get over. But I actually like a lot of Lovecraft. If you can, you gotta really build up a tolerance to the casual racism.
Yeah.
To get through it, to get to the principles.
And then
There's a little
Send
bit
you
off
a
that
link
there,
if
isn't
you
there?
wish to join the discussion,
yeah.
Tiffany.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of that in there, isn't
Sunday
there?
morning, morning your time.
What time is it? My time?
It'll be Sunday morning. So what is it your time, Ring?
Oh no, I've gone past it.
it's currently 9:58 right now. I've set the stream for 8 Mountain Standard AM on Sunday.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Ring.
Yes.
I'll shoot you a link anyway, Tiffany, tomorrow when.
Yeah, I can at least be in the
and-
comments.
So
Language
you
is
can
not
either be in the
happening
comments or join the stream if you want, because
today. There we go.
And next week we are going to have a very special guest when we talk about Harry Potter.
Okay.
Ooh.
I have feelings about Harry Potter that I get are controversial, and I feel like I've already.
I like Harry Potter. It's J.K. Rowling I don't like.
I think Harry Potter is just okay. It's just okay.
Oh yeah,
Yes, that's it.
no,
That's
you're
it.
exactly
It's
right.
they're not wonderful. It's
Yeah.
No, they're
Right.
definitely not wonderful.
As someone who is
fun.
currently drinking tea from a Hufflepuff mug, I'm going to say, yeah, they're all right.
They're just
I've got-
okay, and so many people have done the same thing she's doing better. There's so many people who have done it worse, but like are not terrible.
Yeah,
people.
I mean, we already have a better wizard named Harry.
Yeah.
Actually, I think
Prince Harry.
Gandalf's a better wizard myself, but
This is my time where I will shill these knockoff Harry Potter books called Charlie Bone and the Children of like the Midnight King or something like that. Complete Harry Potter ripoff. Even the covers are like exactly the way Harry Potter, but I just enjoyed them so much better.
well, one of the things.
I mean, if you want to have really good fantasy that's a bit of fun and everything like that, I'd much rather read Terry Pratchett than
And,
read
I love
J.K.
Terry
Rowling.
Pratchett.
I can tell you, as a parent, my wife and I, we read the whole Harry Potter series to our kids.
Mhm.
And one thing that stood out to
Should
me.
have read Tiffany Aching.
One of the things that stood out to me as really good in the writing was, and there's quite a lot of good writing in it, but there's one thing that's really particularly good was the characters, their personalities didn't all change for the better in the end, or something like happens in a lot of stories. Like Snape was always an irritable and difficult guy to deal with, right to the very end. His personality was consistent, which is more kind of true to real life, and you get familiar with these characters, and then you don't get disappointed because the characters remain fairly consistent all the way to the end. And I like that about it. It's more real that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great teen book.
Yeah.
Fine.
That's what it is. It's a teen book.
Oh, no.
Mr.
Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is for the teens and up. And the younger kids are Harry Potter.
I'd
Haven't you seen South Park?
I'd say the later books are kind of getting into teen territory.
They're very much teen books.
As a dyslexic person who tried to read Lord of the Rings as a teen, it's not for dyslexic teens.
I struggled to read Lord of the Rings.
And I had the audio book. The audio book was excellent.
I love it.
I'll correct that. I haven't read Lord of the Rings. I've read The Hobbit.
When we're getting into Lord of the Rings, this is a bit of a controversial topic right here. Controversial opinion right here. But technically, the wizards aren't really wizards.
No, they're angels.
They're angelic beings.
Huh.
That's why they can do magic. The only ones that can do magic in the Lord of the Rings are the wizards, which are actually angelic beings, and the elves and the dwarves. But
hearing some sounds of dissent.
There are certain words. It does mention human magic people at some point in one of the books, but I don't think I ever actually see one.
Actually, okay, yeah, I will say the Numenorians did practice dark magic.
It was in reference to the necromancer when they were talking about the necromancer, saying no human
but the necromancer
has this kind of power.
Yeah, the necromancer was Sauron, who
was the reason they said it was
Maiar.
They were saying that the necromancer couldn't have been a human magic person because he was too powerful.
Oh yeah, and though I will say that some of the ring race were previously human human magic users, but it's largely in the domain of the dwarves, elves, and angelic beings like the wizards and Sauron.
By the way, Mr. Ring.
Yes.
I have a follow-up from our Dr. Dolittle discussion. Which is, I'm not sure that you've seen this, but I think you may have done. On Twitter, there was a discussion about who should play Dr. Dolittle, and it was decided that Nervadia should play Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah.
So, whoever made this, I am going to lay them out.
Is this from Doctor Who? This looks like Doctor Who.
Now you've triggered Badger. He doesn't like it anymore.
Obviously, it's from Batman.
Yeah.
If you could just make me big a sec, Jen. As you can see, it was decided that Nervadia should play Dr. Dolittle. Hashtag
that's great.
No for Dr. Dolittle.
Right. This looks like a perfect fit. That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that gorilla looks terrifying.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
You had way too much fun there, Badger.
Yeah, that gorilla is like Uncanny Valley Central right there.
It's the teeth, I think. It's like, is that what a gorilla's teeth look like? No, that can't be.
No, for me, it's like the eyes.
Yeah. All right, get this picture away from me.
Yeah. Like where it came from, also help me.
The hashtag No for Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Another couple of pretty good books that kind of touch on religion, in sci-fi books in particular, are of course Dune. Frank Herbert's Dune.
Oh yeah, that was an epic piece of work.
Well, I'm just talking about The novel Dune. I'm not talking about the series.
Have you read them all?
I've only read like Dune and then like
I just
most
read
of the second
Dune.
one.
It took me most of, I want to say, senior year of high school to get through Dune.
I only watched.
By the way,
I do love the movie.
I stopped a couple of chapters into Chapter House.
Yeah.
Jen, if you could make me big again in a second.
You want to be big again?
I don't know if you
I
can
wanna
trust
be.
me being big after what you did.
Not that one. Now, when you put up that thing with Patrick Stewart being Gandalf saying Star Wars quotes,
Yeah.
But
what the fuck is this?
anyways,
I like this one. This one's okay.
anyways, the other one I'd highly suggest, especially for people who like Douglas Adams,
Oh, he's
is-
great. Yeah.
is John Scalzi's The Android's Dream.
I have that on my Goodreads list to read.
It's very good.
Should I move it up?
Yeah, it's well, especially if you like Douglas Adams. It's very
I do love Douglas Adams.
yeah, it's very Douglas Adams-esque.
I
terms
feel
of
we
how the
need to have a
plot's
book club
constructed.
stream now.
Yes.
Yeah, because
I'm in
Have a lot of
librarian school now, so like
I've got quite
books
a
are
few
pretty
book
big for me
recommendations
right now.
as well.
Well, I mean, I know in September the Media Musings is basically gonna turn into the book club stream because for September in honor of Banned Book Week I do Lit Month where I just talk about literature on my channel.
Someone thinks the gorilla looks happy, and I respectfully disagree. I think it looks
if by happy Doc Fearsome means stoned, I would agree with him.
Are they your favorite Star Wars books? Yes, they are. That's what they are.
And that's a bonfire he's about to start.
Dave, I will come round your house and I will do grout work in your bathroom.
Could you arrange to do it on the 4th of April and I live in London?
I'm going to do it on a day that you don't want me to.
Oh, what have you done for us, Randall?
Well, that's what Bad Temper Badger just showed. That picture reminded me of this meme.
Yeah.
The expression on this guy's face is great.
Yeah.
So the 4th of April, that's the day of the DR conference, isn't it?
Yes. I don't actually live in London. I'm just going to be in London.
That's an
this is
important
why
date.
I see what you're up to.
So
Badger needs to go.
so
So
you're
basically,
going to,
Dave wants a house sitter.
yeah. So Dave's going to DaveCon.
Yes. How can I
All
not?
the other Daves.
Yeah.
You want the tile
Yeah,
setter
I
for the
don't
house
think I'd be
setter.
allowed. I thought it was just Dave's.
No. There are honorary people allowed. And for all we know, you might be a Dave.
Honorary
Yeah.
Daves.
You can
Dave
see
the
my
Bed-
name. It's written under my.
How does this work when Rachel Oates is going?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, she's not just going; she's speaking at it. So
Yeah.
You got her an honorary Dave certificate.
And
Is
so is
Dave
Aaron
just a
Roth.
state of mind then? Maybe everyone's a Dave if they want to be.
Get a temporary name change.
It's whether or not you identify as a Dave.
Be Dave.
And so you got to be
But-
trans Dave.
Yes.
I'm half Dave on my mom's side.
By the way, I have a friend called Dave, and I know some other Daves, so I think.
Yeah,
You're Dave by proxy, are you?
some of my best friends are Daves.
I am the son of a Dave.
Yeah.
If
I
I could go, I would go to the conference.
I've got an Uncle Dave.
Yeah.
I've got
Same
an Uncle
thing.
Fingers as well.
How did he get that name?
Let us leave it to
So,
our investigation.
so Mr. Cripple, about your avatar.
I need to reinstall my computer so I can get my webcam back.
Well, I was gonna say I could make it into a little animated doodly.
Could you?
If,
I'd quite like a little
You're
animated.
going to make
movie
him
for
an
my channel.
animated penis.
no.
You said an animated doodly.
No, it's
Is
a
that-
British doodly, not an Australian doodly.
Oh, okay.
Doodly. Is that a real word for penis that people use?
A doodle is. Yeah.
Possibly in Australia.
Yeah.
Doodle is a slang that kids use for their penis.
No, not doodle. Hang on. Let me.
doodle.
Not doodle is the penis. Let me put it in.
Okay, obviously.
In Canada,
Doodly.
doodle is just drawing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is here in the
Not
States.
a
Yeah,
doodle.
same here.
Doodly. Doodly.
Yeah, I know you said doodly. I was just messing with you.
I know.
And you did it very well, Jen.
I did. So well, I had to explain
You
it.
messed with me so well. I had to clarify in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could make a little animated doodly for you.
It's okay. We get to take the piss out of them every time they talk about thongs.
So thongs are shoes where in which place?
No.
Australia.
Australia.
I have got some fluorescent. I've got fluorescent thongs.
Me too.
I would dearly love to see you in a thong.
This is cross-cultural bonding we're doing.
Are you gonna wear them for your beach video? Where you're
My what?
with the moonlight?
My fluorescent thong.
So wait, everybody, where is everyone from? Jen, Australia. You're in
I'm
Australia right now.
I am.
Okay.
Canada.
Canada.
Western Canada, actually. British Columbia.
Oh God!
I did not. I could have
Never
gone my
did that.
life without seeing that and been perfectly fine. Thank you very much.
I like it. I'm a fan. So Canada.
Yeah, that does not represent Canada, by the way.
I don't know. It was shown to me right after Canada, so that's the association.
Yeah, that will be forever. That will forever be on the flag of Canada.
It's not red and white,
It's
so it
not a
doesn't.
maple leaf. It's a fucking mankini.
What was you saying?
Bad temper.
Where are you
bad-
from? Where are you
Oh,
from, Badger?
I'm a British badger.
Okay, British Badger. Okay. And then
As you
Dave.
well know, Dave.
I'm a British Dave.
Great.
Right, Dave, I'm snatching some stuff from your Twitter page. Give me that.
Well, I was going to send you a decent quality.
Oh, that'll work
image.
even better.
What have you got?
And Montana here.
Montana.
USA, okay.
That's the
Yeah.
most exotic one. I've never met anyone from Montana.
Ugh.
Oh, that is just so true.
If you will not turned, then you will be destroyed.
Is that the current Pope? I don't know what the Pope is right now.
No, actually, I
Isn't that
think it's
Ratzinger?
Benedict.
That's the previous Pope.
Yeah.
You
not
can't
right.
expect me to keep up with
Let
popes.
your
That's
hate
unreasonable.
flow through you. Your hate has made you powerful.
Alright, be right back.
And I'm in Boston, by the way.
In
Boston.
Boston?
Boston, that's where I'm at.
So,
Oh, we're a good spread.
yeah,
It is
so
good spread.
basically the only way I could be like further from you almost is like if you were in Florida.
Which, I'd never willingly live in Florida, so we're good.
Oh yeah.
I don't. Okay,
You're
Montana's
still closer than the rest of us are.
Yeah.
true. What's in Montana? Like fields,
Yeah.
corn? Like it's like
Mountain?
bullshit.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Got these good memes. I don't have any memes to share. I gotta step it up.
I've got something somewhere just to say.
Oh my god.
Randolph has so many of them. I love your signs, Randolph.
Oh, church signs. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I've taken a few pictures, but most of them aren't.
Yeah,
And it's amazing what people come up with for their church signs, and some of them they haven't thought about what does this really mean,
Yeah.
and it ends up having a connotation that's not intended.
Next time I go back to South Carolina, I will take some pictures for you guys. There are lots of fun church signs.
Oh, please send every one of them to me on a Twitter private chat. I'll add them to my collection.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm collecting them. I think I have over 200 right now.
Wow.
Collecting them for
You
reasons.
realize, Tiffany, that when you start your YouTube channel, you're going to end up with so many subscribers right from the very start.
Gosh, I can't have my face out
You
here.
don't need to have your face. You could just use an avatar.
What?
I could use
What
an
the hell
avatar.
have you done, Badger? No, I am not putting you front and center with that.
Make me big, Jen. Jen, make it big.
Make it big.
Do it. Do it.
Oh, you are dreadful.
Oh no! See, I would have never known if it wasn't big. Flexible. Impressive, though.
You could actually
Oh,
feel
wow.
those thoughts and prayers from a distance.
Unfortunately, doing that has actually broken the software that allows me to display these things.
yeah.
Are you are now stuck with that picture
Yeah,
as your
I'm
avatar?
stuck with this for the time being.
Was that divine intervention then?
So, Tiffany is
Yes.
actually
Oh, I've seen this one before.
yes.
Yeah, I'll just read it out. It's Don Goodnight wrote the poetry for this. It says, "The clergy, how they squirm. They all knew, worm in the room, hiding from sight their own disgrace. Now they fight to keep their place. Out of control, losing ground. Are they lost or absently found? Either way, their crimes are bound. With their trust assured bust. Are their offering plates due to rust?"
And also with you.
But so I
I love the dragon in that, though. That's just such a perfect
Yeah,
picture.
that's actually from a Onion article entitled entitled about the Pope meeting with Quetzalcoatl.
Hey, we're getting a view of another room in Bad Tempered Badger's ship.
Yeah.
Is this like 10 forward or something?
No, I've beamed down to the planet's surface. I'm in
Oh.
Navarro now.
Oh, so you're not in the holodeck.
Is Ola visiting you in this one today?
That depends if the video will move or not.
Also,
There it is. I have motion.
Also, I did some quick googling, and Tiffany is almost exact. It's like within a couple hundred miles of being exactly halfway between where I am in the UK.
Oh, wow.
So, like, party at my house then? Sounds like it. It sounds like it'd be convenient for all of us. Wow, I thought about going to London.
Oh,
pretty recently.
London's not
great.
Britain.
I'm gonna go to
Well, that's where
Reykjavik
Ring's gonna
instead,
be.
though. So
No, actually, it's where. Well, I mean, it's where everyone going to DaveCon's going to be, but
Well, you'll end up there too, won't you? So.
no, actually, I'll end up in Yorkshire.
Oh, you.
In
you guys are gonna be in
Yorkshire?
Yeah. We honeymooned
You
in
could
London.
pop over and visit.
now I'm gonna go to Reykjavik instead of London. London I can go to, I don't know, maybe next year.
Oh, you're gonna try and find the tunnel to the center of the Earth?
Yeah, it's just gonna
Oh,
drive.
wow. There's an old reference.
Yeah.
I personally reckon you should go to not London.
Oh,
But
See,
they,
there's another person we have to do, Jules Verne.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll put some steampunk stuff on.
Yeah.
No, I can never I could recommend books for days and days, or podcasts. Those are my two big things.
Yeah.
Are you
Books are
sending me?
amazing.
Are you sending me a thing, Dave? By the way.
Yes,
I
I'll
was
give you
gonna
a
find
URL
it,
on
but I
Twitter in
was
a second.
gonna See if anyone's read.
I feel like maybe
Ah.
Bad Tempered Badgers
There's
having
a church
private
sign
moment.
for you.
Yeah.
It's an example of the connotations they don't intend.
Yeah. Oh, so that reminds me of.
Oh, did you? I've just got your message there. You need my email address.
I don't know, not now. I was
The best sausage supper in St.
Well,
Louis.
I can tell you my email address anyway.
You're welcome to. I shall add it to my book because I never did. So.
Oh well, it's quite simple. It's my official email address for doing badgery things. It's where have I put it? There it is. It's badger@cock.li.
At what?
But,
Okay, I did hear it right.
anyways, these church signs reminds me of that that comment Nervardia got on her speaking in tongues video about the spirit coming in the person and it bubbling.
Well, this is good. Critical.zip.
Feeling down in the mouth? It's time for a faith lift.
How do I download this?
I like that one.
How do I make this come to me?
Hold on.
Some of those church signs are just crazy.
Oh, they are.
And there's a few that have been vandalized.
Of course.
Oh, why wouldn't you do that?
Oh my. Let me see if I can find that. Where's
Paris.
my cables are over there. Be right back.
Here's an example of vandalism. Actually, see, these vandals are having a good time. That's what I call justice.
It is.
That's chaotic good right there.
Homosexuality is in.
That one's so
I just
easy,
love the
though.
grin on his face.
Oh
I should
yeah.
have known better for that one.
That's
In the butt.
that's chaotic good right there.
It's justice.
All right. I'll give you an exclusive premiere of something I was going to put on Twitter later.
Ooh.
Assuming I can make it work. Give me a sec.
Say hi, Paris. Say hi.
Hey, the cat is here.
Kitty.
Don't let Donald Trump grab your cat.
Couldn't grab this one. She's pretty feisty.
He probably likes him like that.
Oh, God.
This is just getting worse.
That's okay. While you do that, bad-tempered badger, I'll just entertain them with another church sign here. This one's pretty interesting.
Yeah, she does.
I love that energy, Lisa.
Okay, I was in a public lavatory recently.
As you do.
Yeah, and while in this public lavatory, I saw something written. I saw something written on the wall.
Do we want to know?
I'm already excited.
Did you find the number?
There it is.
Sorry.
It's in the screen sharing thing, chat.
No, hold on.
Sorry, I did. It's because it's in the next line. I didn't see it. Sorry. Yeah, what does the bit underneath say?
If you look at just before is coming soon, somebody's tried to rub out Jesus.
Oh.
And then below it, it says, please keep what you and Jesus get up to in here to yourself. Jesus is coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite ready. Oh, we lost.
Oh, what did I do?
I broke him. I flushed him.
Hang on. That's my fault. Sorry, wondering.
What?
Did you close ring instead of screen share?
I did that because I was taking your thing off as you cancelled it. So.
So it was me that flushed him.
Darn it, Badger!
Sorry.
Oh, Randall's got another one.
There's some graffiti for you.
Have you just on the totally, unrelated to any of this, have you seen how one ingenious person in the UK is managing to get potholes fixed quicker?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've seen that. He's changing their priorities. Yep.
What's that?
That was brilliant.
He's called Wanksy.
He paid dick and balls around potholes.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Brilliant.
I forgot what I'm doing now.
I found the comment I was talking about, the one that Nirvardia read out on the Friday Night Six Pack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sharing it.
Get down.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I think
boy.
somebody.
Yeah.
I saw some video. Somebody interviewed him, and he was all voice disguised and explaining and demonstrating how he draws it with spray paint. I had it right there.
Yeah. But yeah. It's
So like just tongues are real. Like not even like speaking in tongues, just tongues in general are real. It's a good take.
Well,
I
yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
I've seen tongues.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah,
one.
the last bit is like so
I use it
full of
frequently.
the last bit is so full of accidental innuendo. It's truly a thing to behold.
Not everybody likes to receive. Some people like to give, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's all valid.
Everyone's got their preferences.
People do.
Dave, what sort of backgrounds do you like?
Speaking of tongues,
Busy.
Busy.
Spacey.
What?
Space.
Well, I don't even
Space.
know what this is supposed to
The
mean.
final frontier.
What it says.
That's dreadful. I have really enjoyed this after show, guys.
Yeah.
But it's like 1:30 in the morning, and I think I'm done.
Okay.
I got loads of
It's
time.
so it's to me it seems to be a kind of a toss up as to like what ones are done on purpose and what are, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, because I could very well see that one being done by someone being cheeky.
Which one?
Okay, this one would have been this one probably wasn't meant to be an innuendo, but the previous
what I'm
one,
yeah.
The previous one could have easily been like someone being cheeky about it.
Well, this one could be a fake. It says churchsigngenerator.com at the bottom or something. So
Oh,
Probably.
bloody hell! Sorry, Badger.
What? What?
She has to
Dave,
click
do you like-
every time she comes back from full screen.
Do you like a bit of Star Trek?
I'm way too tired. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It is
You like
pretty
it?
late. No,
Yeah.
it's 12:30 in the afternoon for us, so I'm just getting my day started.
9:30 in the
guys
morning.
for joining me.
Kids are going to be waking
I
up.
think I'm going to wind up a bit.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. This has been awesome. Been a great chat. And Tiffany, it's been awesome meeting you. And
Me too. Thank
wait,
you for
yeah,
having me.
no, I
You're welcome
really
back
hope-
anytime, Tiffany.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
And I mean,
Come on my channel for
Yeah,
a chat sometime. That should
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's always a pleasure.
yeah, we are
He's a
going
classy
to be
guy.
hammering you to be on different channels at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil should
Especially
come on
on
as well.
especially on One Rings.
Yeah.
media
You want Neil on your
discussion
channel?
because I think some of those you're going to really love.
Yeah. Someone's got to make me an avatar like this badger, like
Badger.
so
Could
that
you
I
make
can
Tiffany an
just hide
avatar?
behind something.
Badger, are you saying you want Neil on your channel?
Well, I could do with. I could. Yeah. I think Neil
I
should
could
come on
talk
my
to him.
channel.
I could talk to him.
Yeah, you should tell him that he should come on my channel for a chat.
I'll tell him.
Yeah,
I'll tell him I'll tell him that's something that's important that's missing from his life.
Yeah, you
If
should
he comes
tell
on
him
your
that.
channel, does he have to bring his own tissues?
I'd prefer it.
Oh, it's
That's
optional.
rude. You're the host.
I'd prefer it if he brought his own, but I do have some.
There are a few people that
Make sure they're flushable and biodegradable, though.
Yeah, I won't be passing any of that along to him.
I am. All right, you Tiffany. There you go. I am going to put your Twitter in the chat, Tiff. So,
Okay. It's very bad, so be prepared.
So people can follow you. There she is.
Bad is literally in my name.
If you're not following
Yeah.
Tiffany, please go follow her. We need to make her a big part of the community because
Oh, yeah.
she is so much fun and she really knows the stuff. So I think that's awesome, man. We want to hear so much more from you.
Oh, thank you.
And we're
But
going to show the hell
it
out
is
of
very
you once you
bad,
start
so.
making your own content. You know that.
You should come on my channel, and also if you want a little doodly avatar, I could possibly do one. Won't be a penis.
How are you
rule
don't have to
anything
show your
out.
face if you don't want to. I mean, I like it because the people do like the personal thing of being able to see people as well. But it's you don't have to do it all the time, so you can mix it up. Dave
I'm kind
sometimes
of-
shows, and sometimes
There's a nice
doesn't.
picture for Tiffany.
I'm kind of on the opposite end of that. I prefer avatars.
Aw.
Oh.
We know you prefer avatars, Badger, but I mean, it's
think you don't look like that?
Yeah.
You've been telling us you look like that for the last God knows.
No, I
how
mean when
long.
I'm watching other people's channels,
Oh,
I
I see.
prefer channels with avatars.
Wait, hang on. You know what, Dave? It's fine. Sassy Atheist got him to reveal his true face. And so he actually took off his sunglasses for her, and we could actually see what he looked like. It was great.
Brilliant.
It's in the YouTube archives somewhere. You just have to look for it.
So let's have a bit of a show. We put your link down for your Twitter, Tiffany. We know you're going to be making some content soon, and we are going to shill the hell out of you when that happens. And if you ever need guests, hit any of us up, and we're more than happy.
And you also did gain at least one new follower.
Aw, guys.
I've lost the streak running.
You got your attention. I have to leave.
So Badger, what are you up to?
Oh, hi. Well, I am Bad-Tempered Badger, as it says next to my face here. I talk about stuff on the internet sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's related to religion or atheism stuff. Sometimes it's related to fiction or culture or science fiction, particularly Star Wars. And sometimes it's some other bullshit that I've come up with. Oh, and I do story readings occasionally. I'm trying to do more of those. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Gab, Minds, BitChute, and Pornhub.
Are you gonna do some story readings from Hugh Lofting? They are public domain.
Possibly.
Could be good.
If you want to link me to something, I might do it.
Yeah.
Wondering, what are you up?
So I'm wondering 42. I do commentary on how evangelicals interact with the culture and media at large. A big chunk of my content is just me railing against censorship.
Good man.
Every weekend on my channel, me and Jen have media musings where we talk about the themes in different pieces of media. And this evening, I'm going to be on Neil's channel talking about my deconversion.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That'll be a good experience.
while you're there, you should tell Neil to come on my channel.
Yeah. Also, once a month, I do a series called Dungeons in Divinity, where I talk about God's word through the lens of the devil's game.
And at some point, we're going to be gaming.
Yes, at some point. Also, I need to get a hold of some guests who said that they might be on a stream if we can schedule it, about talking about cultural isolation from growing up in a media restricted household.
Looking forward to that one.
Oh wow, that'll be good.
And last piece of shilling, just Purple Rhymes with Orange has a GoFundMe to help him get in a better place, physically and mentally speaking. If you can toss a few dollars that way, it would probably be very appreciated.
I think it will be very appreciated. Not just probably.
Yeah.
Randolph.
Oh, yeah.
You?
Well, I'm busy. I'm the president of the Canadian Atheists at www.canadianatheists.ca, and we advocate for freedom and human rights, and we're making efforts to counter attempts to vilify atheism and atheists, consequently, and we're also trying to change the world, in at least Canada anyway, so that atheism becomes more normalized. To me, it is normal to not believe in deities and not believe in all sorts of different things. We do that all the time. And I would just like very much for it to be where atheists can feel comfortable saying, hey, look, I don't believe in deities, and not get chastised for it. So we're making efforts in that direction. Thank you.
Awesome. Dave, you've actually made content.
I did a whole stream and I'm threatening to do more.
Yeah, he did a whole stream and he's threatening to do more. And we're looking forward to seeing more of it. So
fantastic. Yeah.
People should go and follow Dave if they're not already, but everyone follows Dave because you're the shield master and everyone knows you.
Tiffany, please send me a note when you get your YouTube channel set up, because I run a resource on the Atheist Frontier where we're kind of including a link to all these different YouTube producers that are atheists. Right now, we're almost at 150 in there.
Wow.
So we'll include you.
And also, if you do, once you do get a channel, set up, and you do, and if you announce your videos on Twitter, be sure to tag Dave, because he will shill it out for you.
Okay.
And make sure you tag.
I don't even have to tag him; he just does it.
Yeah, just make sure you tag us as well when you bring out something new, so we can try and be involved and help lift it up. Because it's what we do as a community. We try to help each other, and we try to get each other to have a good start, and you're good value. We want to make you feel welcome, and we want you to be feel a part of it.
I feel so welcome.
Good.
Well, we did our job.
Yeah. So Tiffany, we're looking forward to seeing your content. I realize it might be a little while, but Badger can get you an avatar, then you've got no problems with doing YouTube and putting across to your podcasts and stuff like that. So.
Thanks, Badger. That's a very nice thing to offer.
It's all right. I like making these little loop things.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be great, and then we can always have you on for interesting things with other people's channels, like with One Ring's media stuff, where we're talking about books and things and movies. Because I'm sure there's going to be so many of those that you'd be really interested in.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, you've got a resource of different people with different backgrounds and things. So if you need guests and everything, throw it out there. We'll get people, and we're more than happy to help.
Thanks,
Hey, Jen, thanks for being such a great host.
Oh, you guys are more than welcome. I love doing this sort of stuff. It wears me out sometimes, especially when I have a moon world. But yeah, this after show I really wanted to, because Tiffany, you are awesome on Amazing Atheists, and I just wanted to make you feel welcome and let you know that there's lots of other people in the community who are going to be there to help you get going.
Yep.
Daily Atheist.
Yeah, Daily Atheist.
What did I say?
Amazing
Atheist.
Holy crap. I really am really tired.
You can talk to Amazing Atheist if you like. I haven't seen him for ages.
He popped up, I think, recently.
Didn't he bulk banned all of us though?
Did he?
What did he do?
Yeah, he did a chain
Oh
block.
yeah. Oh yeah.
He did
What
a
a
chain
dickhead.
block on Twitter. He did a chain block on Twitter that blocked everybody except the person he was trying to block.
Twitter's hard.
Oh, he's a bit of a dickhead, isn't he?
Absolutely brilliant. It was like, hang on, why are we blocked? Why who was it? He was trying to block Dusty, wasn't it?
Oh dear.
That's what it was. He was trying to block Dusty because those two had another fight, and anyone who was sub to Dusty or Dusty was sub to got blocked, but Dusty didn't. He could see. What the hell?
Oh, that's genius.
It was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, all right, everyone in the chat, thank you so much. Love you all. Thanks for coming and joining us. And anyone want to say their tagline?
Okay.
Gosh.
Remember, indoctrination is a hell of a drug.
I think you're the
Canadian
only one
atheist.
aside from me who has one, aren't you, Ring?
Should I make up a tagline right now?
You can if
Oh,
you
you
want. It's not a
think it-
requirement.
It's one you'll want to be using for a long time.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
With the Canadian Atheists, our slogan is "True, Northern, Strong, and Free," which is inspired from our national anthem. Yeah.
Oh man. I can't
Well, I mean,
follow that up.
Badger does technically have one, but it's always.
I was going to go with bye.
Dave, don't steal my tagline.
Have you come up with one yet, Dave?
Oh hell no.
Okay, well, thanks everyone
I
for
think
joining us. It's been
Mine's
absolutely
starting
awesome.
to be that Neil should come on my channel.
I'm gonna Badger. I'm gonna phone him or text him today and remind him to do that.
Could you
My-
badger him for me?
I will pass that along.
Ba-doom.
All right, guys. Thanks
perfect.
everybody. Love you all very much, and please don't choke on the selfie stick. Bye.
Bye.